Give me just 1 second.
No.
Okay, we going to call the meeting to order, open session at 4:40 p.m. And first item, approval of agenda. As stated, except item C will be tabled since Dr. Sir was requested to us, since he's not going to be here. Except for that, rest of the items need a motion for approval.
Motion approved.
A second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Thank you. And that's it, right? We're going to adjourn open session and go to closed session at 4:41. Yeah,
Make it good.
no, these,
Sorry, been done.
yeah, they're open, no, closed session again.
Yeah.
We don't need, no. Ready with the video coming? Will be funny.
Whitney, you have a copy of the minutes? Hmm?
Yeah.
Oh, you have,
Would you like your red light?
oh, what is that?
You want a clean copy as well? Yeah. Was Liberty on post?
It's a earlier one. Sorry. Okay, so that start the video is on. Open session now. Closed session item, chief of staff report information. Only the part A and a quality review. Made a motion for approval for peer review credentials.
So move.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Oh, you abstain. Abstain. How was it? Yeah, he was not there. Aye and aye. So 3 ayes done. Quality division update, approval, item 2, on B. Each one is separate. I make a motion for approval, quality division update.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye, you were here. Risk management, update, again, and I make a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Compliance report Q4, I make a motion for approval.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Aye. So, then, item C was, for the next meeting. Item D was,
Item D was consolidated in.
consolidated, already presented in one of the,
Right.
item B. And item E, was, SCI, there was, that was item E, right? That was
Item E ended up being informational.
information only, actually, there was no approval necessary. And our item F, no information only. We go into the public comment section. Now Dr. Soros is here, but, I'll probably go ahead and do that. We have any public comments?
Is anything written?
Any public here who wants to do any public comments? You have nothing written?
Brittany, you have copies of the public comments?
No, I received a complaint, not a public comment.
You received it as what?
A complaint wasn't a public comment.
Oh, so you made that into complaint. Okay, that's fine.
Then we have. When we will do the response thing.
It'll be a separate.
A separate item. Yeah. So there were public comments, we go into consent agenda. As presented, need a motion to approve and disapprove the consent agenda. I make a motion for approval of consent agenda as presented.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All in favor. And item 8, approval of minutes from July 26 minutes of regular board meeting, the Board of Directors meeting. Need a motion for approval.
Motion.
Go ahead, second somebody and then we can discuss it.
Dr. Bell make a motion and second.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
No, there is a discussion.
Discussion.
Okay, so, there is a discrepancy in the minutes that about the hearing. It was agreed upon that this will be the official public record as recorded by the court reporter. And so that is not here. And so whatever summary there is written by some staff member, it should not be adequate for the minutes. The minutes should reflect that the report from the court reporter, which is certified as what happened, should be the part of the minutes. And so I think that the minute should be amended and should reflect that we have to wait for. Apparently, that is not available at this time, right?
Well, there's two pieces to that, one, it's not yet available from the reporter, and two, it's her work product. So I don't think we can contractually make her certified copy a public record without her consent to allowing its wide distribution, because it is her livelihood and that is how they make money, is each person who buys a copy.
That should be fine. Money aside, that, the district went ahead and contracted with the court reporter to make an accurate record of the proceedings of the board meeting. And that should be then part of the record that this is what happened. And whatever the thing is, the district already committed funds to purchase that for the district. And that should be available for any member of public to come and review if they want to. And if they want to purchase, then they can go to the court reporter and purchase it. But it's not a matter of money, it's a matter of what is the district record.
So
So that should be part of the minutes, and the minutes should be amended.
So I have here already a revised version of the minutes and a clean copy that was prepared. Dr. Bell, no, not ready. We removed a bunch of the more subjective statements, maybe, or statements where it was information. Are you suggesting that maybe you add in an additional sentence that simply states this portion of the meeting was transcribed by a certified court reporter?
And that should be the actual record of the meeting, and not what somebody's summary, some staff member made a summary. It should not be. I think only thing that it should say is that the certified copy of the hearing transcript is not available, and that's all would be the record, and that will be available, and then the matter will be amended.
So your proposal would be that a member of the public could review the transcript by making arrangements with the hospital, but still,
Yeah, so that review, I think for information of Freedom of Information Act, the district has to provide that access. And if somebody wants to make copies, then they can pay for it.
so I guess my problem is that anytime you have a trial or a lawsuit, what we do is we have the original deposition transcript. It gets lodged with the court. You have your whole trial and pieces of it can get read into the record, but the physical transcript itself, after the trial is over, gets returned to the attorneys, doesn't go in the public court file. And the attorneys aren't supposed to release the transcript because it belongs to the reporter. So again, I'm not sure, given that it exists is fine. I think stating that any member of public may contact the court reporter to arrange purchasing probably is fine. But I'm not sure that the hospital can circumvent their contract with the court reporter and have a copy that's freely available for everyone.
No, I think, as a public institution and government entity, public wants to come and review the public record in the hospital. It is our responsibility to provide that to the public. No matter what the public's intention is to review the information, but public should have access to that public information. That is the Freedom of Information Act. I mean,
The entire thing was recorded, right, it's on the website. So I don't know why you need something, it's all there.
so
It's open.
Yeah, you can just,
And the recording that belongs to the hospital is
It's
not
out
on the
there.
website, it is available.
Even it's more accurate than somebody court recorder. Court recorder, if you make a mistake, but actually the actual live is all recorded. It's a video recording, open session is all video recorded. Really?
court reporter is certified.
It doesn't matter, what you have is what you have, public can see that, that's a fact.
So you're suggesting that the
Yeah,
court
public wants, they can see it.
reporter's report is
I don't know what
not
it's
good.
significant.
Is that what you're saying? Then
Court
what did you
reporter
get
is
the court
nothing.
reporter?
Court recorder is typing of what happened, and what happened is actually recorded in the video. The public wants to see video is there.
The video, I looked at the video and actually it's not accurate because it
How can video
does not
be-
represent exactly what happened. Because a lot of times the screen showed some other screens.
So
The audio was there continuously.
You were not even here, so you don't know.
I would also note that a court reporter is typically retained for legal proceedings. You had your pending writ. I'm not sure if that case is still going on. But that's usually, it's a way to be able to admit evidence or information and facts into the court system. So I think it's sort of ancillary to what the board's purposes were.
Doesn't matter what the board purpose is, public record is public record. And that should be available for the public to come and review. Whether they have to pay for the access or not is a different issue. Public should have access to the public record. Is that not right?
But you keep saying it's a public record when it's not. It's a work product that belongs to a separate individual who is present. If any member of the public here is making notes, their notes here aren't public record. Similarly, so the only thing that's a public record is what belongs to the hospital. And I think maybe eventually that record would be available through, for review from the public. I think it's not, especially with a pending legal action, it wouldn't be available for some time.
So I think the discussion is over. Now we can vote on approval of the minutes and how we normally do board meetings. That was a one-time item or something there that the board feels and we can vote whatever, but so currently the motion is the second and we can vote on that motion in second. For a minute of.
And just for clearly, so
Approve the minute, we have a motion and a
it's this revised version that's being approved,
Yeah,
correct?
the revised version.
Okay.
There's a motion and there's a second, and all in favor, aye. Let's vote on it. Aye. Aye,
No.
okay. 3-1, it passes. It's done. Move on to the next item. Let's see.
Yes, it's ready.
So we have a little bit, right?
Right.
For August, I want to give you just an update on what's been happening in the district. So a couple items, we actually had a film crew here over, they've been working with a number of constituents in the community. So we actually opened our doors for them to film a couple scenes. One was in a room, and they also wanted to capture a scene in our hot lobby. So our marketing department worked with and Melinda and Valerie worked very closely with the film crew, made sure we upheld all the confidentiality. And there will be a TV series called The Orange is the New Black. This is the producer.
Yeah, producer from that show.
Yeah, from that show that actually filmed it. They also did some other filming.
Actress. It was the actress, right?
Yeah, the actress.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, so just some interesting, we've done this one time before. And actually the movie, we actually showed it at the movie theater, but something that was very unique for us. And then,
I have a question. Did they pay any fees or?
no, they did not pay. Just wanted to make the board aware that Uber, we have an Uber portable transport. As you know, moving patients in our community is very, very important, getting them to their doctor's appointments. So Porterville, the city of Porterville has now have the transportation van for $5 that will actually transport people through the city of Porterville and out to Strathmore. So the goal is to ensure that we have those that need transport getting ready to use the service. And so you'll see the vans around town, but much needed service. Service line update, want to give a shout out to our women's services. I actually was at their department leadership meeting department meeting when they rolled this out. Donna Cha is a labor and delivery nurse at night. She spearheaded this discharge protocol, and the results have been phenomenal. They started when the patient presents to L&D. The labor and delivery nurses go through a checklist. It can actually finalize on the postpartum side. And we've had, out of 31 surveys, we've had a perfect score in communication. So the senior team got to go up and recognize them last week for this accomplishment. And phase 2 will follow. And they're leading the charge on discharge communication for much needed service. Foundation events, I wanted to bring your attention. The foundation is got a fundraising event coming up here in October. And we are going to have the night of the dueling pianos. It'll be hosted at the Ramirez home here located in Porterville, and wanted to, this funds raised for this will actually support much needed computers on wheels. So we are in desperate need. Our WOWs have gotten a lot of use, and they are actually do need some upgrades. So much needed fundraising for this. I also wanted to take a minute, Laura, and recognize Laura Nielsen. She retired as our laboratory manager. Many of you might have known her when she worked in microbiology. She actually came to the community and had served over 30 dedicated years. She worked for Fridland Labs when they were an independent lab. And we have to recognize her. She's actually officially retired. And so she will be in the community, and we just wanted to take a minute and share that with you. And then also we got to recognize Jennifer Shields. She's a CNA in our emergency department. Barely could get her through the door when we got to celebrate her and her accomplishment. She was actually nominated by one of her colleagues as Employee of the Month, and does much needed work in our emergency department. And then our leader of the month is our Sylvia Roberts, our new manager. And she actually worked in the emergency department. She reports to Melissa, and she is in a new leadership role overseeing case management. And her official title is manager of the care integration. Care integration. But yes, she's doing a great job. And then we have a new manager of emergency department. Wanted to bring your attention to Chris, who has joined us from Sonora. Has over 36 years in healthcare, and he is working with Bree in this transition. As you know, Bree Solana has been our interim director of emergency department, so he's been here about 30 days. And then last, recruitment efforts. As you know, recruitment and retention is the top box initiative for us. And so we have a social recruit coming up soon at the Tulare Outlets. We have an exclusivity for this recruitment effort. And so we're hoping to capture some new employees out in that area. So thank you to our marketing and HR department. And then legislation, you know, as we've probably all gotten quite a few questions in regards to the public emergency. The public emergency was just extended by Secretary Basara to end in October 15th. We think that's going to extend to January 11th. He's going to give us 60 days. We think this morning I heard on a call that it might be 90 days. So we actually have a couple things I wanted to bring to your attention. There are 47 pages of waivers and flexibilities that were extended through the pandemic. Our organization took a conservative route, and we actually only, as you can see, really exercised the space waiver when we had to put up the tents outside the emergency department, when we needed dedicated overflow rooms, such as the Whitney, and then the telehealth and the staffing. Those were our three areas that we thought was important for us to be successful through this pandemic. So as this winds down, obviously we want to be successful in pulling out of it and meeting the future normal standards, but much to come around telehealth. There's legislation is fully aware of how the benefits of telehealth and virtual visit, what that looks like. Right now, they're only focused on mental health and extending the telehealth visits for mental health. So we're hoping that they'll maybe take maybe a different look at it, but more to come on that. So I just want to give you an update on the public health emergency. And then the voice of the community. We had a resident that raised an issue in District 2 and actually was related to the noise. Our groundskeeper, every morning, it hits our doors very early before sunrise and is doing their due diligence to make sure our exterior is blown off, and the noise was actually starting at 5 a.m. So Gary and Fred took it upon themselves to go meet with the resident, and as a result, they made some changes. We got a thank you card back that said she was very appreciative of us addressing this issue. We also got an additional benefit. She brought to our attention that we had a shared fence that needed to be repaired, and that fence has been repaired. So we had a successful outcome with that. And just wanted to say, we're still got one unresolved issue, and that's in regards to, as we know in the valley, dust, right? Dust is still a huge issue. As we move it from one surface to another, it just stays here. So we got to work on how we're going to, address the dust issue for them. And that's all I have. Thank you. Any questions that you have for me?
Any questions?
Any questions? All right. Hand the baton to you.
Okay, so July financials.
All right. All right, good evening. So, starting off the new fiscal year, a couple of things. Our inpatient acute activity was below budget as far as the days. Discharges, though, were off only a little. Our length of stay was down much lower than budgeted. That's good news. Long-term care was up a little bit, and then our outpatient visits were down 12% from what we budgeted. Compared to a year ago, our acute days are almost 15% lower, but you see our length of stay was down as well. And outpatient visits were pretty close to last year at this point. And here comes the story, July revenues. So it was the lowest revenue month we've had in a year and a half. It's early 21 with COVID going on. We didn't even hit 50 million in patient revenue. And supplemental funds a little higher than what we expected. Now, again, in the beginning of the year, because we're not sure of all the timing of everything, we tend to accrue a smaller amount of supplemental funds and it picks up as the year goes along. So we had our net patient revenue approximately 1.6 million below budget, and total operating revenue at 1.7. below budget. Expenses for the month, salaries, wages, and benefits were down 4% from budget. Pro fees, so again, our pro fees were up compared to budget. And I will tell you that our pro fees were down in June. So beginning to get some of the contracted staff out here. So we were down overall 600,000 in contracted staffing from where we were in June. Total operating expenses were slightly below budget, but we had a sizable loss from operations again because our revenue was way out. And then non-operating items for the month, total non-operating revenue better than expected. And then we had a small, actually an increase in fair value, but looking at our bottom line before that, a $2,187,000 loss, so 1.3 million greater than budget. Revenue being a big issue. When we look at it compared to a year ago, you can see there that our total operating revenue was greater last year. The other one, our operating expenses, quite a bit lower a year ago as well. And again, a year ago, I think our contracted staffing at the time was maybe $200,000 before everything started to escalate. Staffing costs, looking at our
So we're
staff.
paying everything ourselves now, right? The
Huh?
contractor staff is all ours now. No state anymore. We're all on our own.
No more state, and I don't anticipate any more provider relief funds from the federal government. So at this point, we're on our own. Total staff costs for the month as a percentage of operating revenue, 74%. We had budgeted at 63, and the impact of that is 1.2. And comparing it to a year ago, that the impact is almost 1.7 million. Provider pro fees came in under budget, 96,000, and a little higher than where we were a year ago. And then looking at our ratios, the days cash on hand at around 400 and cash to debt. Again, what we've been talking about, balance sheet still pretty strong. It's the operations that we need to get turned around. And again, the biggest thing on this month, when you run that low of revenue, one of those things in the summertime. Doesn't always happen, but it does at times. When it does, it's just stuff like that.
I have a question. So if you continue to have the operating revenue losses, then when would you will have to cash in some investments or how? Because it will be a cash flow management problem.
Right. So at some point you could, what we've typically done is we'll keep some things out there just in a money market or basically cash. But right now, yeah, the issue is going to be for us as far as supplementals, those revenues coming in. We're still doing a pretty good job on our collections on AR. It's going to show up probably later this month and into September is the low revenue month in July. But yeah, so we just have to keep an eye on that. But we've had months that you saw back in February of 21, and actually in that year we had a few months that were below 50 million, and we were still able to get away with it. So. But we have to keep an eye on it, can't we?
You're not allowed to.
Professional fees,
Uh-huh.
are those just the contracted services that we have in the hospital? Like
Yeah. I don't think we've opened it up to
And also include attorney fees like for the lady that.
Yeah, so
Doug, I think we have to open this up.
The questions, what was
Can I clarify? So the procedure, standard procedure is that the questions from the audience is not taken.
Oh,
Okay. But you didn't know that, but in habit.
yeah, this is for the board.
okay, I want that.
So yeah, there is a public comment period at each meeting, and so questions can be put forth during that period, and then if the board chooses to have them addressed, they'll address that.
Okay.
any other
Yeah, questions from board members? So this may be, is it a trend? How are we doing in August, the See, I was unusually surprised. COVID Delta was very slow last few weeks. It's been very slow, I mean, really slow compared to like historic.
So we're doing better this month
Yeah.
in July. So we're on a pace right now to be anywhere from 53 to 55 million in revenue. So we could be 4 to 6 million higher than where we were last month, depending. There's still always time for it to change
I mean,
one way or the other.
For those who don't understand, right, we have fixed costs, staffing, a lot of it is not flexible as much as, most organizations, and you can flex it, but probably not as much as you want, right? That's why you have these losses, because when the business goes down, your fixed cost doesn't go down. So hopefully we're going to normal. That's an exceptional month, I hope.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good that patients are not getting sick, but I think they're probably sick elsewhere. They travel in summer, coast, and everywhere. It's a seasonality.
The COVID Delta was very slow.
Very slow also. So it's not just us.
So there were empty beds.
Like hospitalists were normally 18 patients. My daughter works there. She had 12 for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
12 days of 16 to 18. So that's kind of unusual, but it does happen once in a while in summer. I still think it's a one-time phenomenon, but
Yeah, I mean,
we should be prepared. The one more month it happens,
June was
the
good.
staffing has to be looked at.
June was solid, and then just 1 month, I think.
Now, the contract staff trend, are we, now that it's slow, we can probably eliminate those people, right? Can you?
the issue is when you bring them on, you've got them for a set period of time. So
Yeah,
the
you
real
have
issue is that the
Contract has to wear.
You see, that's the problem. That's the danger part.
Well, and the hard part too is in that period of time that they're here, they're a fixed cost. They're gonna get their hour, right? So.
Yeah. So let's say you slow down, you have a lot of contract staff here. You flex our regular staff out because, so that you don't have somebody sitting around doing nothing.
Well, the good part about this time of year is if you have the opportunity, people can take their vacations and do all those.
Yeah, the
things,
lot
where possible, so.
I mean, at the same time, cath lab, we're extremely busy. I mean, for example, we're not able to do cases, the staff's not there. We're cut to half
Right.
because we can't find it. But hopefully it's a one-time phenomenon, we'll get through that.
That's the real issue that raised it. Typically, in the summer months, we have staff taking vacations. Right? I would say our volume right now is very much like pre-COVID, 60 to 70% of our beds are occupied each day. That's pretty much our summer volume after that. And we are not having a problem with staff on the contrary, find staff. So we're in a very different position with
The trend of length of stay is very positive and the report. I'm looking for some silver lining.
Yeah.
Thanks. So we'll move on to the next item, which is investment report.
So this is looking at our investments at June 30, and again, reporting and keeping things in compliance with our policy and with the state investment advisory commission. As always, the maximum maturity of our investments is 5 years. We're also limited as to the composition of the portfolio, which we'll see in a moment. So looking at here, so cash, obviously no limit to that. It's about 17.6% of the total. Now, again, this is including funds from the bonds that we issued 3 years ago, as well as the municipal lease that we did about a year ago. So those are consumed, they'll show up here. CDs at 26%, we're fine there. Corporate bonds, so you can see on down the line the composition, but we're okay on total. And then the investment maturity schedule, over the next year, about 9% of it is gonna mature, 10% after that, and you're gonna see 2 to 3 years and 3 to 4, we're gonna have a large portion of it coming up then. So over the next 12 months, again, 9% is going to mature. We're gonna have about a 1.5% rate of return. And it should steadily increase as things turn over and we're able to buy things that have better yield. Our budgeted investment income for the last quarter of fiscal 22 was $412,000. We actually had investment income of $546. So again, hopefully we can try to improve that as we go along. And based on this, we have the ability to meet our obligations in the next 6 months.
Thank you. Any questions for that?
Yeah, so the bond money you said that was slated for the building of the nursing home over there. I'm sorry, I missed that. We decided not to build it.
This point, because during COVID, the cost escalated probably $10+ million. So now we've got to back up and determine what to do. We've got a report that we're going to have to send in the next month or so, because typically we're expected to expend 85% of the funds in 3 years. We won't have met that, but it's due to things that were beyond our ability to see when we took those out. But definitely when COVID hit, it just drove up all the costs. In fact, there are stories of hospitals starting projects, and while the project is going, the costs just continue to escalate and we come up short. So we didn't want to get caught up in that. Plus, at some point, your ability to have an ROI starts to go away as the cost escalates.
Wouldn't it be that we got money on that bond at a very low interest rate, like getting a low interest mortgage?
Yeah.
Mortgage rate went up to 6%, as for example, then the cost of new capital we are going to need would be higher.
Correct.
So then, it kind of moves side by side or, in tandem. So would it not be just wise to provide that for the construction and have the services available?
Well, what we could look at, given some of the legislative changes, so if we're not going to get this extension on the seismic, we take those funds and get our seismic stuff done, still go out and build another rural health clinic like we said we would, but we get our site, is there some way to get our seismic wrapped up and then just be done with it? And we would have done it, those lower cost funds. And if we can limit the scope so we can get it done, see if that's possible.
I see, okay. And so how much time we have left in the 3-year expenditure?
We're not going to make, so we'll go ahead and disclose, again, all the reasons why we could not, which should be fine. It doesn't happen all the time, but it's not unusual.
So you don't ask for exemption to the whatever the content.
Yeah, because they're tax exempt, right? So to just leave them out there could become an issue. But the fact that we'll have an alternate use, that the reason we didn't use them was something that we could not have foreseen at the time we took out.
I mean, they want you to spend, but we want to spend wisely.
Yeah.
Yeah, spend doesn't mean foolish spending.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Doug? Otherwise, we'll go on to the next item. C, GME review, the.
You guys, pardon, I put my chair hat aside,
Yes.
put on my DIO hat.
Yeah.
And we had our first institutional review survey after we started our program. So this was our first opportunity to meet with the surveyor post starting of our program. And so with that, the actual survey was done last August on the 24th, almost a year ago. And then it took from the time the surveyor was here to get the report to the next available review committee was in February of this year. And then we didn't get our actual signed letter sent to us till the 26th of July. So almost a year later from the date of the survey. And our initial accreditation is exactly what I expected, with warning, because we have some things we have to do initially. It is not in serious jeopardy of our program, but we've got to do some attention to some citations. There were a total of 10 citations. Most of these citations can be grouped together. When one standard, they look at another standard and find something there. For instance, we need to have salaries and benefits approved in writing at GMAC prior to our contract. We were doing the reverse. And so we've made that modification, so that won't happen anymore. That we have faculty attending our GMAC meetings. They looked at minutes prior to us even starting the program. And so that weighed into that. So we fixed that. So many of these things have been fixed. In addition,
other things that took a little of our time was that we had institutional policies and they wanted a programmatic policy that really mirrored it, or we had the program policy and they wanted institutional policy that mirrors that. So we've got a few things to do around that. And then the other area is making sure that in our contracts with our residents, that it is spelled out all about salaries, benefits, and it goes into more detail than we have. So that's easy to do with this next coming year in 2023. So I foresee that there will not be any problem, that we've either fixed these already or we're on track to get them fixed within the next 60 days. So all of that is good. We had 6 citations that were from a previous review prior to us being given the program, and those have all been resolved. So that's sort of where we stand right now.
The residents are getting salary and benefits like what rest of the employees are, or they are on a special category?
Nope, they are very much like the staff. Yep. There are a few caveats for educational time and stuff that we have to put in through the requirements of ACGME, and Tracy works with us and her team to make sure we do that, but they have the same level of.
There are some educational benefits, right?
Say it one more time.
They can go for educational benefits or something.
Yes, yes. They have some special stipends that are, that they get. We financially support a lot, as you know.
Yeah.
Of the things that they have to have, tests and other things that they have to take while they're in the program.
Materials, the tests.
We take on a serious financial burden. So, is there any questions on the report?
Currently, we have what, 30
We have
residents?
28 residents between PGY 1 and PGY 2. And then we'll start our PGY 3 year next July. So we'll have 3 concurrent years running.
That'll be a full house.
Wow. Be ready.
But the facilities.
But no, it's very exciting that we're on the cusp of having graduation in 2024.
Are we reaching the Medicare limit of maximum number of residents? or
40 is our max.
40 is our
Internal
max.
medicine, and there's a 4 position per transition year, so that gets us to 40. Over the
How
3 years.
about space for them? What are you doing about anything? You're working on space for them?
Yes, always constantly as the program grows. So we're going to, Don and I talked, we're going to use the Whitney room for their education room. So you'll be giving lectures down in the Whitney room. That'll be dedicated to the graduate medical program and other educational programs that we have. So that will get better. We're looking at a site where they can have lectures and stuff. A gathering sites, because the group is going to get large.
Thanks.
So anything else?
Thank you.
Welcome.
So like some voting on the business items. So item A, July financials, may I motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve.
And I second, all in favor? Yeah. All in
Aye.
favor?
Aye.
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 I'll vote. Number B, investment report, need a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Number C, GME review, motion to approve,
Motion to approve.
second. Aye.
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
All in favor. Now we have item D, that is a comment from public and recurrent meetings that have here. So this is the response to recent public comments after consulting with our council. So this is a statement from the board. I'm going to read it. Normally, Kent will be reading it. So Sierra View District Board prides itself on being an entity that not only encourages input and comment from the public, but readily seeks out means to encourage and increase public participation in board meetings. For example, board holds its meetings during evenings with the hope that more of the public can participate in the meetings. Each board meeting allows for a period for public comment. Recently, though not legally necessary, board has reorganized its agenda to better accommodate these members of the public that have been attending the board meetings. At the July 26th meeting of this year, board received a comment from a member of the public incorrectly alleging 3 problems with the June 28th meeting, which allegations the board feels it cannot leave unaddressed. So these are the addressed. Number 1, the comment alleged that agenda item 3, item E, was never taken up by the board at the June 28, 2022 meeting. This is not correct. The agenda item was taken up by the board, but only to the extent that the prior to the board taking any substantive action on the item, the board voted to table the matter to the July 26, 2022 meeting. If the motion to table the item had not passed, then the board would have proceeded with that item. This is a standard practice afforded to all boards prior to taking up any items on the agenda. Number two, the comment alleged that board did not allow for public comment. This is not correct as well. As with every meeting, the board did allow for public comment during the period noticed on the June 28, 2022 agenda. No public comments were received in person or by Zoom, chat, email, or facsimile, or mail, or message, or any other method. Since agenda item 3E was tabled, no public comments related to that item, specific item, were allowed until after the item was taken up by the board at the July 26, 2022 meeting. There is no requirement that Brown Act, under the Brown Act, for the board to allow this additional public comment time. The board allotted a specific public comment period for this item simply because it wished to hear from the community on that particular item. So it was in the board's interest and the public interest to have the public comments for that item heard at the same meetings. The board took up agenda item 3E. Number three, the comment also complained about the continuity of recordings of the meetings. There is no requirement under the Brown Act to record the meetings. The recordings are done by Sierra View District for the convenience of the public and are created to the extent the board's administrative resources may make such recordings practical. The board, by and through its administration, continues to work to improve this service for its constituents and hopes to continue to improve with each meeting. At the end of the day, the board is focused on serving the public. The board hopes that as this agenda item makes clear, the board takes comments from public very seriously and will do its best to continue to address the public's concerns when any such concerns are voiced through the public comment period. So that is the response to the previous question, the previous comments.
It's for information only, so just if there's any discussion or input from the rest of the board.
Is information only, is not yet, but
I'm sorry.
so if you have any questions?
No, I just, this is the first time that I heard that there was a response. We never discussed it before putting it forward. So I don't know. So I was going to ask for a copy of the response, just so that I understand. I think it was a lengthy public comment, and I'd like to look at things.
Look at what comment?
No, the answer.
Or the response? Yeah.
That's the only copy you have?
Yeah, that's something. You can make a copy.
Does anyone else want a copy?
Anybody else want it?
So, did we invite whoever made that public comment to have some type of comment about the board response, or we have to wait till next month?
We're procedurally supposed to wait till next month. Because the agenda item doesn't allow for public comment on this specific item.
Okay.
So just the same as with the financials. We have all of our public
They
comments.
can comment again next month if they want to comment.
Yeah, and that would be something to consider at the start of each meeting when we're approving the agenda. We can approve whether or not public comment is necessary on any specific items. But also note that there's the public comment section that we take up before we get into the business. And so if there's a member of the public who wanted either a chance to give their comment at the start of the agenda items later, they could make that comment there, and then the board could vote on any specific agenda item to hear from the public.
I see. So since this is a question about Brown Act, we love the Brown Act to make sure we have to comply. And so I like to suggest that, we invite whoever had raised the issues to come and then, discuss that with the board and allow that member of public, whoever that is, to come and discuss that so that that issue can be further addressed to the satisfaction of the public. Because it's about the public knowledge of what's going on. It's not about us, it's just we have to comply. And so I think one of our jobs is to satisfy the public so that they can trust us. I mean, we don't want to, I mean, if there is a mistake, we can say, oh, okay, we made a procedural mistake. If we do, then that's what it is, then that's what it is. But I think we should invite the member of the public who had that concern to come and make a presentation on the agenda so that we can see the issues and then we can resolve it to the satisfaction of the members of the public.
Okay, that would be a case by case basis. I think you need the vote of the board to just.
Generally, I'll say generally, public comments in public things are for board to listen to all the comments and consolidate and come to do things to address them. But to address, individual public, there could be hundreds of people. It is not going to be practical to do that. If there's one person, it's easy, but you could have tens of people doing you cannot sit and start responding to each one and have discussions with the public. That's not practical. It is not feasible.
But we can.
In general, I mean, that's my general.
No, that's true, I agree. That's
Because
true.
there's a lot of public, I mean, you're going to be going crazy. You have a hospital to run, you have a business, and you have things to take care
Sure,
of.
but
But you have a consolidation, we have a duty to listen to them and act on it, which is important too. So that's why, you can periodically address the concerns this way or any other method, or they can respond back. I mean, if it is that egregious or something they feel that strongly. But public, as you say, Brown Act, I've never read the thing. Alex keeps bringing it up. That's like little devil. I mean, you keep and the public reads it. I'm not sure how much they understand the whole thing. I mean, you start making things up. I mean, it doesn't mean that that's how we do things. So that's how I feel about it.
I think that there was public comment, but it was more like a complaint. And
Yeah.
So if we have unsatisfied members of the public, then I think it's our job at least to pay attention to them. And I would still move that we put that particular item for public discussion on the agenda for next month.
Or you have a motion
Yeah,
that the agenda we discussed. Anybody wants to second that motion? There's no second, so that's.
What's the motion?
that-
the
that you
motion is
discussed.
to bring this complaint or the issue to discussion about if there were any mistakes made in the Brown Act
I think they'll,
compliance.
but what they'll have, Doc, is he'll have the ability, him or her will have the ability to do a public comment on what we just said as well. Right, similar to what they did previously. But I think what
For
he's,
board to sit and discuss this, yeah,
but Doc, I think what Dr. Penn is saying is that we did take time out to make a statement for this one. We don't really do that very often. I think there was some allegations made from.
we didn't follow some
from-
procedures
Yeah.
and. That
And the public doesn't really understand.
It's not here, you're not here to sit and, discuss that item ad nauseum. It has been
Right.
addressed, and if he has concern, if there is something, you can bring it up and we'll review it. But that's not something we discuss on board meetings.
So will you please record that the motion had no second?
Yes, yeah. So I think we have done with all the discussions and there's no further, I need a motion for adjournment of the meeting. We do not have a public comment session has passed. It was earlier, that section was earlier.
The public comment section will pass. It was, that agenda item's already come and gone. Nobody from the public spoke. Agenda item number 6. No, it's public, it's on page 3, agenda item 6. It was taken up at 5:17.
Okay, that was the open. Right here now, you're on,
No, the page 6, I'm sorry, page 3, item 6 at 5:17.
It's 10B, then comment from the public, you just read a letter in, that's not a public comment.
Response.
That's 6, I'm sorry.
Very well.
It's item number 6 on page 3, public comment.
It's speaking these are the public, and this is the response to public comment.
Item 10.
Correct. Item 10D. No, it was a.
It's not an opportunity for public comment.
No,
You have a public,
That letter was a comment.
no, that letter was a statement from the board.
Pardon me?
That was a statement from the board.
Oh, from.
Okay,
Yes.
addressing the public comments.
No public comment.
do you have a public comment at this time? Do you have a public comment at this time?
Comment, request, whatever you want to call it.
I would move that the member of the public is present with a public comment. We make an exception and allow him to make a public comment.
The proper procedure would be to return to the agenda item 6.
Okay, we return to agenda item 6.
Okay, I'll go to return agenda items. Go ahead and have your public comment. We go back to our.
We have to get a second, get a second.
Yeah, oh yeah,
I'll second
the
it.
motion is that.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
All in favor to listen to the comments?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay, all right, good. Richard, Bill. I just wanted to request to effect a copy of the minutes from the meeting and the consent agenda. I was not able to pull it up today at all. So I don't know if I just didn't come up late enough, but last time I checked, it was the way we go, please, along with any records that were presented at that time, any written items and so on that were part of that meeting. And also that comment there that was read in from the board.
Sure. Thank you for that. So, no, the business items, a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion to adjourn.
There are the announcements.
We have an announcement, regular board meeting in September 27, 2022, 4:30 p.m. That's the last announcement. Motion to adjourn the second, all in favor, aye. The meeting is adjourned. And 6. Probably the fastest. This is the, 1.5 hours. I'd like to see this being a standard meeting, 1.5, 2 hours. Not a marathon, so hopefully in summer.